funky.
Good afternoon, guys. It's Garrett, and today I'm going to guys the part 2 to my vector portraits. And if you guys haven't already checked out part 1, it's actually going to be the link in the description. It basically goes over choosing the right image and understanding the line art, basically where the lights and shadows are coming from, you know, blocking out those big shapes and stuff like that. It's a really informative video. You know, you only have to watch it the first 10 minutes to understand, you know, choosing the best image for you and stuff like that. I'm using a picture of the weekend. You guys can use whatever you want. And I am using a graphics tablet. I'm using one of the Wacom Continuous Draws, I believe it is. And you don't need a portrait, or excuse me, you don't need a tablet for this, but it really helps making the portrait, you know, stand out and making something a lot better. So basically, this is really easy to do. If you guys haven't got to the step already, watch part 1 or go to my image tracing tutorial. It's basically making it into 6 colors and stuff like that. And we're not going to spend too much time talking about it. If you guys do have a tablet, just make sure you move your keyboard, you know, in front of you, out of the way or something like that. Grab your pen and stuff like that. Grab your tablet and just make a new layer. And we're going to start off pretty easy, actually. We're not going to be going over the whole entire body itself. We're just going to be going over basic things like the hands, the face, and the hair and stuff like that. Going over like the big shapes. You guys can understand that when it comes to like the clothes and stuff like that, you guys can just like block in that big shape and stuff like that. You don't really need to go out with that pen and go into it. So the first thing you guys want to do, obviously, is zoom in, and the first thing we're going to be going over is the background of the face. So we're going to be going over basically the skin tone and stuff like that, so we're going to be creating our color palette. So once you guys have Illustrator open, just hit I on that keyboard to grab your your swatch color tool, eyedropper, and it's basically, you know, click it a couple times. I don't know why it's doing that, but click it a couple times, hit B. Excuse me, oh, it has to go through the colors. But once you guys get the color, you know, down, you guys need to understand where everything's coming from, you know, the colors you want to use. And we're using very basic colors. We're only using 6 colors in this portrait, so basically it's going to be pretty easy to do. So alright, after that's done doing whatever it just did, basically all you want to do is hit B on your keyboard, and you guys can make, you know, a decent size, you know, color tool. Grab I, hit the other color, put one under that, hit I, grab that other color, same thing, and I grab, you know, the eyebrow color, and maybe do that. Alright, so you guys can label this layer over here, let's just say color, and make a new one. And then it's always going to be here. It's always easy to grab. You know, you guys can just click that, hit B again, and then grab your tool. When you guys have your tablet, if you guys are using your tablet or a mouse, always just put it on touch calligraphy just for the sake of the tutorial. And maybe, you know, make sure that your brush is like a good size. You don't want to make it too big or too small. And really quickly, we're not going to go over too much. All you really want to do is, it's going to be kind of really basic and stuff like that. You really can do it one of 2 ways. You guys can block in those colors. You guys can literally do the background color, the next color, and then the next color. We're actually going to do it that exact way. We're just going to take it and basically go over where that face would be and just kind of go around the outline. Like when you used to color in the coloring books, you used to just make a huge dark border around everything. Basically do that and hide that background layer and just fill it in. And the reason why we're doing that actually is because it's easier to work on top of colors than separating colors itself. So we're always going to have, you know, this big, huge skin tone. Even if it's not the cleanest lines, even if it's not that, you guys can always go back with your pen tool and fix up the lines and stuff like that. It's not really necessary if you're going to do it that clean. So you guys just block in that big shape and then make a new, just like pretty much put that layer back. If you guys hide it, you guys can basically make a new layer. And grab I, grab that other darker color, hit B, and then you guys can start getting into little details, which means like come into here, and this is when you want to start messing with your brush size. So on the stroke right here, you can take it to like 0.4 maybe, if that works for you. Maybe lower, 0.2 should work. And basically just go around here. And you don't have to copy it exactly. You guys can always change it up. Maybe your style is more flowy and less, you know, abstract. And, you know, something like this could work. You know, bring that up into the hair. And basically go over it, you know, hide that layer, and then you guys can color this in. And it really is it's kind of weird doing this because you're gonna think that it's so much more advanced to make these kind of portraits, but this is actually kind of the easiest way to do it. And it's kind of like a lot of like blocking in big shapes and coloring it in. There are easier ways to color it, like if you just click it and then fill it in, but it's always nice to kind of just switch it up for a bit and, you know, color. So basically, just a bunch of coloring, nothing too fancy. And you guys can take your time on it. You guys can change the brush size. I'm just gonna use the same brush size just because it's a lot easier for myself. So I don't have to keep making buttons. You guys can use like the up arrows and stuff like that. And oops, literally all you have to do now is put that bottom layer on, and then you guys got, you know, something working on. It might not look like a lot, but you'll understand it coming soon. So next step is basically going to be doing the other eye, which means basically going to, you know, hide these two layers and do the next darkest color. So basically I grab that dark brown and take that brush, make sure it's on a small size, maybe like 0.2 again. 0.2 usually seems to be a good brush size. And you guys can do it all at once. I'm gonna be doing this in a little bit of sections and stuff like that, so you guys can block in that big layer, so you guys can see what I'm working with. So I got that. Maybe I'm gonna do the eye in like sections, so I have this. And you basically, it's a big kind of coloring book in a way now that you're doing it this way. It doesn't have to be perfect, not at all. That's kind of the good thing about art, is things don't have to be perfect. You guys can always do whatever you want. It's a very creative thing that you guys can change up to your different style. And you basically, you know, color this part in now. And once you color that in, then you guys can basically hide all three of these layers, and you guys are going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, basically going to the darkest colors and making sure that everything flows together nicely. So you guys can like hit up arrow, I think it is, or right on the keypad. Something like that will change the brush size. I'm not too into Illustrator to tell you, but I know one of them does something. But like, see, let's say what's gonna be there. So this all just becomes darker colors. So then, you know, just to fill us all in. And it's, you can tell your friends, be like, yo, like check out what I made, and just like show them big blobs. But basically it really flows together really easily. So like now that you guys have this, you guys can like put that in, and you guys really have, you know, the start of an eye. It might not look like it, might look at it at all, but if we hide these three layers, the eye like is literally right there. And so we hide them all again, we make a new layer, and we just go all the way into this eye, and then grab the color. And this is when you want to zoom in and become really kind of, not detailed in a way, but really like pay attention to like where the lines cut up and stuff. So see, you know, it goes like this. Maybe it goes, flows over here. This kind of creates the eye socket, and then you guys can throw these on, color this in. And because we're doing it in such a way that it's like this, that everything is a lot easier to come together. So if we wanted to add something, like add like a color or add something else, that it's easy to do it, and we don't need to take away from anything. So if we, you know, we hide that background layer, we know that there's going to be kind of that tear duct is going to be somewhere around that area. So just grab your brush and do the same exact thing that you've been doing. Just put it on a smaller size, maybe like 0.2 this time, and just whoops, and just drag it around. Take that color off. And it's always good to just hit Control Z a couple times. Nothing's going to be perfect that first try. So now, maybe bring this out a little bit more. Bring this out a little bit more. You guys can put all these layers back on. And then we can zoom back out. And you guys have like the first eye done. And it's just a very, you know, basic thing. And it might not look like a lot, as I said before, but now that you guys have this, you really have the whole facial done. So now you guys can just hide this, and we guys can go like straight into the nose part. And you guys can group these together. You guys can be like right eye or something like that. An easy way to do that is just pretty much drag and drop it on top of that. But I'm going to leave it the same. I'm actually going to work on the same layers. So I know that's going to be the orange color. Hit eye. Whoops. Hit eye. Grab that color. Go back to that orange. And then basically we're going to zoom in. And then we're going to just go over the way the eyes and where everything else flows together. So same thing, guys. It's always going to be brush size you're going to need to worry about. Maybe throw us on like 0.3. And really easily just kind of fastly block this in. Maybe that goes over there. This comes down. And you can always like lift your finger off the pencil or off the tablet or off the mouse. Don't always have to have perfectly straight lines. Things can always have, you know, a little nature curve to it. So we got that. Maybe these flow together like this. And you know, we bring this all the way up. Hide that background layer, figure out where our colors are. Whoops. I know what I did wrong. Interesting. So basically, a thing you guys have to worry about, I actually just did it myself, so it's a good example, is if you guys tend to not watch what layers you're putting stuff on, if you guys hide something and you guys realize that it's not staying, then you guys put in the wrong layers. You know, a lot of Control Z's, you're gonna do a lot of work. It's not a huge deal that you mess up and stuff like that, but it can be annoying when you guys put in a lot of work and something like that. So, you know, you hit Control Z a bunch of times, you guys will realize, you know, some lines you put down don't always go on the right layer. So just a lot of Control Z's can fix some stuff. Basically, I already fixed it. So just make sure you're on the right layer, you know, click on something that you know that is on that part of that layer. And then just go back down and, you know, work piece by piece. And I'm going to do the same thing over again. I'm sorry about that. I totally didn't even cross my mind. So I'm going to just really fast. And as I said before, guys, it's not a long process to do this. It's really fast, actually. And it tends to be overlooked on something that's very hard. And don't get me wrong, there are some illustrators that do crazy styles that involve a lot more advanced stuff. And those are a lot more hard. You need a lot more of understanding of light and understanding of stuff to make those. Personally, I can't do it, but I know some people that can. So, you know, it's always basically practice. Practice makes perfect in this field of design, 100%. So let's see. So we have this. We know where the light is coming from, and basically there's other stuff we can do. Let's say we're gonna do it this way. We guys can actually click this layer, and sometimes you guys can change the opacity and stuff like that. A lot of things that can play a factor into it, and really you guys can change the color of something, but honestly the whole opacity thing really works for me sometimes. But I basically know what I'm doing, so whoops. So it's really just like a lot of coloring. Don't overthink it. It's not something that's going to be intensely that can either make or break your project. So, you know, we're going to leave that there. We'll come up. I'm using a really big brush, so if I go start getting really like slow, it's because I'm making my brush size really small and I'm barely touching my tablet. And you know, you guys can go back and stuff. And basically just block in these huge big shapes that you just made and just color them in. You guys can use an Append Tool to do it. You guys can just click and hit fill. Personally, as I said before in this previous tutorial and previously, excuse me, in this tutorial, you guys can really just, you know, take in that big brush, you know, chill out, make some colors. And you don't have to follow this color scheme of the actual picture. You guys can actually take into your own hands, and it's just really cool on stuff you can do that you don't have to copy the picture exactly. So once you basically get this done, and if you start getting confused, I'm going to explain to you after this what happens if you get confused, things that you guys can do. And basically it's not hard to kind of get back on track. So let's say we zoom out and we personally have no idea what's going on right here. We have no idea what we're making. We're just kind of coloring in. It kind of looks like an alien. You don't know what's going on, but you know that there's hair. You guys know that there's big stuff coming around. So if you really want to, go ahead and just hide all those layers that you made. You guys can make a new one on top, and basically some people do it, you know, right away. Some people just wait until the end to do it, and basically push in that hair and the other objects. So, you know, put this on 0.2, hit B on that brush, and just go around. You know, it doesn't matter where you start. Make sure you guys have like on a stroke, but really you guys can you see that I'm doing it really fast. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be very sloppy. We can go back over it later, just to get your eyes on something else. So something really quick, block in this big shapes that you know exist, and you don't have to color it in. You guys can. If it really helps you to color it in, by all means do it. But basically now if we zoom out and we just pretty much put all those colors back, you guys are gonna understand that now you can see like the hair would be up here, the hood and stuff. So sometimes it's gonna help you to do that kind of stuff. Also, a thing you can do is if you just hide, you know, start hiding layers, you guys can choose what you want to be and where. I'm actually going to do the eye right now, so I know that this is going to be the darker color. I'm going to do the eye and the eyebrow, and then I'm probably going to get it quits for this because I hope you guys are understanding where I'm coming from. So, you know, I got the eye going, and I don't have to make, you know, big shapes. Maybe I can make it little small ones. Yeah, see, like I can hide this layer because I know where it's gonna go. I know what's gonna happen, so I can fill that in real quick. So maybe push that out. Come over here. Maybe I can throw these little specks in. You know, take your time, don't take your time. It's really art is a process, and you guys can either rush it and not be happy with your work. You guys can take your time and be super stoked. And some of your work might not be the best. Some of your work might be, you know, the worst that you've ever seen. But really, you're never gonna have a perfect project every time. So, you know, just like little stuff like this. You know, start blocking in those big things. Fill it in. And you know, you're starting to become more aware of the colors. So now that you guys have this, you guys can really, you know, figure out like, all right, well, that eye goes there. Maybe you're gonna be a little confused on what goes next. So you can hit eye on that brown, and we'll just color it in the face just a little bit more. And same thing, make sure your stroke and your size is always, you know, something good that you can work with. Make sure you guys are always clicked on the same layer. So, alright, here we go. And my style per se is actually very wavy, if wavy can be used as a term for this. And I don't like to always make those really hard lines and hard shapes. I just feel like that sometimes it just looks weird, if that makes sense. You know, sometimes I feel like that those really dark, hard lines can sometimes really mess up the project. So I'm just going over where I see all this brown, even if it confuses me. At least I'll know where I'm supposed to be going. So yeah, see, now I ended back where I am. Hide that layer and just fill in what you just made. And really, you can do this as fast as you want. If you want a really good project, guys, I would really take your time, zoom in, and make sure that these layers are very well constructed and that everything flows together nicely. And that's just my tip, because sometimes if you rush your art, that it's not going to be exactly what you hope for. So color this in, block it in, however you want to say it. You guys can change the stroke now. You guys can put it to like 0.5. Don't put it to like 0.1 or something like that, because it might be too big. Because look, 0.5 is like pretty decent size. I can get in small spots, I can get in big spots. It's really easy to do. So we're finally getting to the end. We're finally get to where the hair's at. Maybe kind of clean up some lines if you really want to. And basically, zoom out. And it might look weird. Those are extra layers on. And you guys got this so far. And really, you're going to want to do it to the rest of it. I'm going to stop kind of abruptly, and I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm actually going to color this in so you guys can understand what I'm saying. Alright, it's about to be really fast. And let's just say we have this. This is going to be the hair and the hood. So you got the hood. The hair. You know, you guys can make this like really big. You guys can bring it out. You guys can like shake it out. And let's just say we're gonna make it smaller, maybe like 0.4 to get the little details done. And of course, guys, it's the same thing I've been saying. You know, you want to work with not 0.4. You guys want to work with those big shapes first, and then go to the smaller ones. And you guys can just hide layers and make the opacity smaller. Whatever really floats your boat on this. So you guys can see I'm not really taking this so slow. I know it's gonna be there. I know how it's gonna be there. And we're just doing this for like a placeholder. You know, if I was gonna be doing this for my personal project, I would take my time. Make sure that these lines are very smooth. Like that one. And when we zoom out, we have just the face so far, and it doesn't look too bad actually. And the reason behind this is because, you know, if we hide all of these, it's basically like we just redid it in a way. So ready? And this one has a lot more down lines, but ours is really kind of like smooth, you know, wavy and stuff like that. So coloring is a lot to do with this, you know, color palettes and stuff like that. And it's really interesting that you guys can become something like this. And this is not just the only thing you guys can do. You know, I would work with, you know, if I was doing this myself, I would probably do the whole entire coat first, and then I would do the hair, then the skin, and get into the little details. I would always do the darker colors on top last, because that's, you know, that's kind of most important. Also, using different kind of brushes, you know, you guys can use flats, you guys can use ovals. If you guys have brush packs, you guys can switch out with that, you know. Flats become like those cool calligraphy ones. You guys can write your name in like a cool way, like something like that. But it's basically like different brush sizes for different things. And really, you guys can take this to a whole nother level. Don't limit yourself, because if you limit yourself, then things are going to happen and you're going to basically lose quality, as you're going to lose what you're doing. And just take your time, make sure that everything goes smoothly together. You guys can always change the colors. And personally, if you guys finish this, you know, you guys can do other things. You guys can hit I, grab that color, hit B, and put this on like a really tiny 0.1 on like a flat. and like kind of like wave this around. And you know, you guys can go in and do different things like this. You guys can switch it up. You guys can add your own flair to it, and it doesn't really matter because it's your artwork, it's your style. If you guys like doing stuff like this, then it's totally up to you, and it's your artwork, so be happy with what you make. So I can go in here, I can add just like cool little lines, maybe like put like a Harry Potter scar on his forehead, and if it looks cool in my opinion, then just leave it. It's what I want to do, and if I'm happy with it, then that's all that matters. So this has been the tutorial, guys. It's only 25 minutes long. It's about like a hour-long video overall, split into 2 parts. I would go ahead and make the rest of it, but basically it's going to be a huge hassle, and I can take my pen tool, of course, and just mock it up for you guys. So, but basically it's really easy to do. Don't think it's so hard to do because it says Illustrator on it. It's not like it's gonna kill you. Illustrator is a really amazing tool, and it's gonna help you out tremendously in your artwork. So you know, I'm gonna take that. Maybe I'll fill this in. What color? Black. Is that the color I was using? Nope. All right. So basically, you know, fill this in, and grab this side. And it's the same thing. Make sure I have that. I do it all the time, so you guys will see I literally do it all the time. But we add it over here. And we guys have like the hood, the face, and stuff like that. So you guys can see it's coming together pretty well. Just take your time doing it, and of course, guys, it's basically what you want to do. So if you guys did enjoy this, leave a thumbs up. If you guys want more tutorials like this, leave a thumbs up. If you guys understood this and needed help or anything like that, let me know in the comments below, or email me, or send me a message on Twitter. I'd love to help out you guys. And thank you guys so much for 11,100 subscribers so quickly. I almost have 11,002. And we're growing so fast. So just stay lookout on my channel. I'm going to be doing top 5s with like money giveaways and stuff like that. But of course, guys, it's been Garrett. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you guys later on. Peace out.